All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to talk about the 6 personal perspectives and how they can help you be successful in your business. So, the first part of the workshop today, I'm going to spend going over them, and then we can talk in more detail. So, I'm going to share and unshare as we go. We'll stop after each point to talk a little bit about it and answer any questions that you might have. Okay? All right, so our first one is develop mastery. Then we have the 80-20 principle, become purposeful, never stop learning or be learning based, remove limiting beliefs, and be accountable. So we're going to dive into each one of those in a little more detail and how they can help you. So first of all, developing mastery. So what is mastery? It's developing mastery of something requires you to have knowledge, skills, and habits that allow you to become the expert at it. Okay. So think about what is something that you want to develop mastery in. So to figure this out, you really need to know what are your goals, right? What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Because we have to be honest with ourselves about all of those things if we really want to figure out what we should be developing mastery in. Now, mind you, our discussion today is in the real estate business aspect. All of the things that we're going to talk about today can also apply to other aspects of your life, most definitely, but we're going to talk about them in context of real estate today. Okay, so once you know your goals, then you know, just like we've done business planning, right? You have your main goal, you have probably at least 3 priorities to help you get to that goal, and then some strategies underneath that. Those priorities are something that you're probably going to want to develop mastery in, right? So that means you need knowledge, skills, and habits to be able to make those things happen. So let's talk about our next one, the 80-20 principle. So, does everybody know what this is? Have you heard of the Pareto principle or the 80-20 principle? So, essentially, what this means, it's based on the Pareto principle that 20% of our effort will produce 80% of our results. You'll hear us talk about this 20% often in coaching. The 20% is what we need to focus on. You'll hear it referred to also as the big rocks, right? The most important things of your day. So, in context of your workday, 20% of your efforts producing 80% of your results, who can tell me what you think belongs in that 20%? What do you think is your most important thing if you want to have a business?
Your lead generation and follow up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to lead generate. We don't have a business without leads, right? So nothing else matters if we don't have leads to work with, clients to work with. So those big rocks, your job description, according to Gary Keller in the MREA book, is 5 main things, right? It's lead generation, it's lead follow-up, it's setting and going on appointments, writing and negotiating contracts, and practicing conversations that's going to allow you to do all the other 4 things at a high level. That's how you're going to build your skills, right? Is through that practicing conversations. That's your 20%. That's what's going to create the bulk of your business. Now, does that mean something else won't help? No. And this is where our focus needs to be. So the 80%, you can look at this also like your 20% is being in business, but the 80% is being in busyness, right? So what are some activities that could be part of the 80%? So these would be activities that in and of themselves may be important to your business, But if you don't have clients, they're really not going to matter. So, what might some of those things be? Has anyone here spent a lot of time working on a flyer to make it just right and the font perfect and the spacing perfect? And before you know it, 2 hours have went by? Nobody cares what that looks like. Just make it look nice, check for spelling errors, get it done, right? If you're working on a flyer, what's the purpose of the flyer? Is it for an open house? Is it for door knocking? Is it for something you hope to do but aren't really going to do it? Right? So the 80% is everything else, everything that is not those five things we mentioned. If you don't have leads to work with, those other things don't matter, right? So if you don't have clients that you're setting appointments with and going on appointments, we shouldn't be worried about the other things. Now, if you have an open house on the weekend and you want to make a flyer, that's fine, but don't let that get in place of your 20% time. That should be your focus. One of the ways that you can work on this is by what Gary Keller likes to call mastering the morning. Right now, what that essentially can mean is don't get wrapped up in the word morning. Sometimes a person's day starts at noon or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Your real estate day might start after your regular work day. So don't get wrapped up into the word morning, but understand that mastering the morning means taking control of those first few hours of your real estate day. Okay. Whether maybe you work late, so you sleep late and you don't get up and get going till 10, 11, 12 o'clock. That's fine if that's your schedule. Just make sure that those first hours are protected and are used doing that 20%. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about becoming purposeful, right? So to become purposeful, we need to really stretch out of our comfort zone. We can look at this as becoming, this is also referred to in the Keller Williams world as E to P, or going from entrepreneurial to purposeful, right? When we're when we start doing something, we all have our comfort zone. We all have certain things that we're willing to do and that we do well. But then we get to a place where we become maybe not so comfortable, right? And that's where we have to stretch ourselves. And when we stretch ourselves and become purposeful, that's where we start to see success, right? So the key to becoming purposeful is really to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because that's how we grow. So, an example of this, have many of you experienced you're doing your lead generation and you're calling a handful of people you're totally comfortable with, you know they're fine taking your call, and you have no problem calling them. But then you come to a name where you think, oh no, I don't know if I want to call this person. Oh, it's been a while since I've talked to them. They might just think I'm bugging them. Anybody experience that? It's probably pretty common. We've probably all experienced it, right? And yet, you'd be surprised at how many times I've pushed agents or agents have pushed themselves. They've made that phone call. They've actually gotten leads and referrals from it. It did not go badly. It went way better than expected. Sometimes we get in our own way, in our own head. And that's what holds us back. So to become purposeful, we've got to get out of our own way and be willing to stretch. So our next one, and we'll have some time to dive into these a little bit more with questions once we've gone through them all, is never stop learning or be learning based, right? We always need to be willing to grow in our knowledge. Remember, that's part of developing mastery. So we always need to be willing to grow in our knowledge And we have to understand that we are never going to know everything. Albert Einstein was quoted as saying, once you stop learning, you start dying. And in this business, it's true. We never, ever stop learning. I mean, I've been in this business almost 3 decades, and we learn new things all the time. I learn new things because something comes up that we've never had to deal with before. Or every time a market changes, we're all learning new ways within to work within that. Did you know that there is no such thing as a bad real estate market? It doesn't matter how bad things seem or what the headlines are in the news or, oh my gosh, rates are up and this is down and whatever. It doesn't matter. We learn how to work within that market. We figure out how to do that. When we do that, then we become successful no matter what market we're in. Right? So we have to be willing to always learn. If we've been in this business, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, or 20 years, and the longer we're in the business and the more comfortable we are and the more we know, if we think we know it all, then that's when we're in trouble. We are never, ever going to know it all. There's times when your coaches, your leadership staff, we have to find out, we have to ask questions. And if we think we know it all, then we're in trouble. So this is really key, is to never stop learning and to really, really stay learning based. Oops, we went backwards. Okay. This one's a biggie. And I love to coach people and help with this. And I love to see the results when we can coach people through these things. Removing limiting beliefs is so important and is truly, truly key to our success. All of us have them from time to time. There isn't any one of us that's immune from these things. You know, you see those things that are on your shoulder telling you, oh, you can't do that. It won't work for me. That's too hard. That might work for somebody else, but it's not going to work for me, right? Henry Ford was quoted as saying, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right? Our mindset matters. And part of having the right mindset is removing these limiting beliefs. So we need to change the way we think. If we say we can't do something, we need to change that to I can do it. Maybe it's I can do it if I have the right tools, right? Maybe we're thinking we can't do something because we don't understand it. We don't know where to start. So we learn, right? That's part of being learning based. Notice how all of these things we're talking about today are connected to each other. And actually, all 6 of these that we're presenting today, came as research through the years through many successful people and the commonalities that they had. So all 6 of these things that we're talking about today are common beliefs and strategies among highly successful people. We didn't just pick things out of the air to talk about. Okay. So, what about the one we see on the screen there? It won't work for me. Well, it won't if we don't try, right? So, we need to think it will work for me. Or if I have the right information and the right tools, right? What about it's too hard? It's not too hard. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. So, successful people remove limiting beliefs from their thinking that hold them back. So, when we start to feel ourselves thinking negatively, we need to turn that around and start thinking about, okay, what can I learn or what can I do to turn this around, to make this work, right? All right, and the last one that we're going to talk about today, and then we'll open up for discussion, is being accountable. Accountability is super important to the success of your business. There isn't any one of us that can truly hold ourselves accountable for anything over a long period of time because we're our worst enemy. We will always think of something else that we would rather do. But when we're being held accountable, when we have to report to somebody, we don't want to disappoint other people, right? We can disappoint ourselves all day long, but we don't want to disappoint other people. So, becoming accountable is how we achieve our goals. Setting a goal and being accountable to the goal itself is one way to be accountable, but we need help in that, right? Because human nature is to not hold ourselves accountable. But those are the things that keep us on track. You'll notice on the screen here, there's some bullet points of people that the traits of somebody who's not accountable, right? They don't live in reality. They fight it. They want to blame everyone or everything else for their lack of success. They make excuses. They just want and hope. They hope it's just going to fall in their lap, right? That's the mindset. That's the personality traits of somebody who's not accountable and who isn't ultimately likely to be successful. Now, on the other hand, we see the traits of somebody who is accountable, who will likely be successful, right? They live in reality. They acknowledge the reality, right? They acknowledge things can be hard, but they find ways to do it. They own things. If they don't get things done, they own it. They see where they fell short, right? They find solutions. They get things done. I can't tell you how many times I see people, whether it's in real estate or anything else, and they're not successful, so they want to blame everything and everyone else. I've had people say, oh, coaching doesn't work. Well, try showing up. The people that say that are the ones that don't show up and then don't do the work. The people that are not having success in this business or in anything else in life are the people that have the traits on the left side. So if you see yourself, and I'm not saying anyone here does, by the way, but if you see yourself at all on the traits on the left side, please study the traits on the right side and figure out how you can apply them so that you can have success, not only in your business, but in life in general, right? Because like it says on the bottom of the screen here, accountability is the glue that ties commitments to results. This is how we go from putting it on paper and having a goal to actually making it a reality in our life. So I am going to unshare the screen now. And I want to open it up to you and I want to ask you, what are you feeling about some of the things that we just talked about?
I can go, Jodi. I think you need to have discipline.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's part of the 80/20. That's part of accountability, right? You notice, as I mentioned earlier, and I have them all listed here, the 6 keys to success, right? Everything that we just talked about. And they all play together, right? When we develop mastery, when we start gaining knowledge and skills and building the habits, right? Then we become successful. The 80/20 helps us build habits for success in our business by sticking to that 20%, right? When we stick to that 20%, we become purposeful. When we're working on all of these, we're staying learning based to learn how to do them. And then as we do these things, limiting beliefs are going to creep in. We're human, right? But that's how we remove them. That's where we go to accountability. Accountability, if we're accountable, we're going to figure out, okay, how can I move past these limiting beliefs? So, does anybody have a limiting belief or something else on here that you would like to share that you've maybe struggled with that we could help you through?
I do.
Okay, is in what?
So I think that for me personally, what I do struggle with is I almost have to tell myself that every little bit counts. Like if I can dedicate, let's say 2 hours or 3 hours, because again, I have a job and I have three small kids. Even when I have like little time, I'm like, yeah, I just have a little time. Like, what am I gonna do in 30 minutes? And then I gotta go take my son to swimming or whatever the case may be. So I came into this year saying, even if I make 2 calls, like 2 calls is 2 calls. Maybe I can make 15 calls. So it's just trying to just tell myself that whatever time I have, if it's one phone call, it's one phone call. And I just have to roll with it. Maybe I'm not gonna have 5 hours on a work day to dedicate to just doing real estate stuff, but every little bit, is just gonna be helpful to me. I really, really struggle with that. It's almost like I do a lot or I do nothing.
I can relate to that. I think I'm seeing other heads nodding. I think we can relate to that, right? So, this is one of the reasons that we say when you have time, whatever amount it is, set aside for lead generation to make your phone calls or send your texts or do your social media, whatever it is that your lead gen of choice is, that particular time block, protect that time block with everything. Don't let little things interrupt you because it takes us several minutes for one 60-second interruption. It takes probably 7 to 8 minutes to get going again, right? So, as Zinwa or anybody, if you have 30 minutes, make sure that you sit down and do as much as you can in that 30 minutes, right? Because maybe 2 hours from now, you'll have another 15 minutes. And this evening, you'll have another 30 minutes before the night is over.
It adds up.
It all adds up. And so I appreciate you bringing that out because those of you that are on this call that have other jobs during the day, you are going to have those struggles. And I know I've talked to many who want out of their day jobs, so to speak, right? Whatever time your other job is, and want to do real estate full time. But if you don't dedicate time to it, it's not going to happen. Right? So that comes to being accountable. Remember the blame? Well, we could blame our other job. We could blame kids. We could blame this, that, or the other of why we're not successful in real estate. But to Azimwa's point, every little bit helps. If you take advantage of every little bit, it will help. Let me give you an example of something that I started doing that's made a difference in my life. So you all know I work from home. I do the coaching from home, which is very nice, right? And I'm in meetings all day long. And when I'm not in meetings, I'm working on things for our coaching agents, putting things together. It takes a lot of, if I have an interruption, it takes me a while to get back on track, right? And sometimes I'll have 5 minutes, 10 minutes between things. So if I have a few minutes between things, that's not realistically really enough time to pull something up and start writing or start doing a project, right? It takes that long just to get in the mindset to do it. So what I've started doing, because with just the nature of things, I have a hard time keeping things up around the house, and my husband pitches in a lot, and he works full time too. So, what I've started doing with those extra 5 or 10 minutes, I get up, I get out of the chair, I start moving, I go unload the dishwasher. Or maybe it's unloaded from the morning, so now I'll load the dishwasher, right? Or I'll go throw one load of laundry in. Or I'll do something that only takes 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe I start cleaning something that's going to take a half an hour, but I'll do 10 minutes of it. I've gotten some movement in. Then I come back. I go into the next meetings or the next thing that I have time blocked that I can focus on. And before you know it, at the end of the day, everything's done. Now, I say that because I have the luxury of being from home, but it was a struggle that I had. How do I work this all in? Because I used to take those 5 or 10 minutes and just sit here because I thought, oh, I don't have enough time to do anything else. Right. So I'd just sit here and I'd look at this or that or the other. And when I realized, wait a minute, I can put those 5 or 10 minutes to use and also get up out of the chair and move my body. Right. So it's a simple example, but it's an example of how every little bit helps. So when you have those times, please take advantage of them. Don't think, oh, I only have 15 minutes. I don't have enough time to do anything. Make one call. If you have 15 minutes 5 times a day, suddenly you've probably made somewhere between 5 and 10 calls. How many people do we want you talking to at a minimum every day? 10. Minimum, mind you, right? Because the goal isn't just to have conversations. The goal is to set appointments, right? So if you're not setting appointments, you're not having enough conversations, or you're not having the right conversations, or you're not talking to the right people. And if you need help with that, reach out to the coaches so we can help you with that, right? Because it may be one or all of those things, not necessarily. What other thoughts do you have? Has anybody had a struggle with a limiting belief that they've had a difficulty overcoming, would like help with? Or I'd also like to hear and share with the group. Have you had a limiting belief that held you back, but you did overcome it and now you're doing well with it?
Mm, I do. What I started doing recently was because I work in downtown LA. I live in San Bernardino. It's a drive. And in the beginning, I didn't necessarily, I realized I had to make my calls while I drive.
Yeah.
But in my head, I used to feel like people would think that I wasn't really giving it my all. Because one of the reasons I wouldn't make it was, what if I need to write something down? What if I need to, like, I'm driving? But I figured my drive is an hour. I'm just gonna make the call. And that's what I've been. I get in my car, leaving work, and I just start calling people. And
That's awesome.
wanted to call you today, and this is when I can get. And I haven't had a single person complain about it.
That's
It was just
awesome.
all in my head.
That's fantastic. And those of you that do have commutes to work, that is a perfect time to get some lead generation done. Call your sphere. And if you have the ability to call from the car, you probably have SIRI. I don't want to say it because then my stuff's going to start going off. Right? um,
That
so,
happened.
so when you hang up the call, say, hey, S, right? Remind me in 1 hour to make this note, and then say the note. Then you'll get reminded when you get somewhere you can write it down. So your drive time is a great time to be making calls, so long as you can do it in a safe
Yeah,
manner, right? Okay. Most people now have the ability to do that safely. If you
absolutely.
have the ability to do that safely, please do. And while we're talking about calls and commutes, you're probably hearing this just everywhere right now. Um, I know we've talked about it in coaching. Your market centers are talking about it. We talked about it in the Kickstart call today. If some of you are holding back or having a limiting belief around calling people right now in some of the areas you live in because of the fires, I'm going to give you a reason to take that limiting belief away. Okay? And Kate has a perfect example of why this limiting belief shouldn't hold us back. You don't need to call people and say, "Oh my gosh, did you lose your house? I can help you find a new one." Please don't do that. No one do that, okay? Call the people that you know and ask them if they are okay. Check in on them. Make care calls right now. Ask them if they or someone they know has been affected. Go to lacity.gov or whatever the website is. Get the website handy. Get a link to send them so that if they need help, you can text them or email them a link to resources that can help them. If they ask you about real estate, go for it. If they don't feel obligated to bring it up. Just call and check on them. You're doing that, your caring will go a long way. Kate, are you in a place where you can share what happened, or do you want me to share it? I see you walking. I see she's trying to unmute
Sorry.
there.
Well, yeah, my phone, of course, is acting up. I have a good friend whose family lost two houses in the Palisades, and I was just checking on her regularly and trying to help out and see if she needed help with her kids or um, anything that they could possibly need. Just saying hi and being an ear for her. And then she asked me if I could help her dad find a new place to live. So it just organically happened just from me being there for her and being of service.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Kate.
Of course, of course.
Oh, do we have someone else wanted to say something? No? Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple things in the chat. Let me check that out. I didn't have them up. So Maya says she wants to improve limiting beliefs to help success. A bad habit of letting my fear of not doing a good job stop me from learning and stop me from having conversations about real estate. Because I'm a newer agent and very young, I fear people won't take me seriously. Maya, thank you for sharing that. That is a common limiting belief, especially for younger ones. But I'm going to tell you, being young doesn't have to hold you back. Okay. What you need is to exude confidence. You can exude confidence even without knowing things, right? Because you just be positive, smile, talk to people, show that you care, ask them questions, come from contribution. And then if you get asked a question that you don't know, let them know, you know what? I'm going to find that out for you. I'll get back to you this afternoon or whenever you can. Then you reach out to your coaches and you ask us and we'll help you through it, right? Here's the beauty about making sure your sphere of influence is your number one source for lead generation, particularly for the agents on here that are newer. They know you're new. They know you don't know it all. They know you're going to have questions, but you can let them know, especially if you're in the coaching program. Hey, I have a team of over 100 agents, three coaches with over 3 decades in the business who are behind me to help. So by hiring me, you're also hiring my team, right? So you don't have to know it all, and you're going to learn it over time. So you can exude confidence just by being positive and by being willing, right? And there was, if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, the MREA podcast. Does everybody here listen to the MREA podcast? If you don't, and you have that's a very good podcast, by the way. Yes, and it's based on that book. But they interview agents who have had success in a particular area. And a couple of weeks ago, they interviewed a young gentleman. He's 23 years old right now, and he's been in the business 3 years, 3 or 4 years. So he was like 19 or 20 when he was very young when he started, and he shared what he did to get started. And in his first full year of business, I think it was 62 transactions. So go listen to that. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I'm trying to remember his name. I'd have to look it up. If you can't find it, reach out to me, Maya. I'll give you the exact name. But he also last year or the year before was on stage at Mega Camp because of his success. And we've had several young ones. So don't let age hold you back. Okay? Because many a young one has become very successful in this business. Okay. Adina says she has friends doing that. I'm thinking this came in when we were talking about care calls. Friends can stay with us too. Thank God my friends are safe and still have their houses. That's very good. That's good news. Experience to overcome limiting beliefs is to take actions, doing what scares me. And when I do that, my fear starts to fade away. That's exactly right. Because you know what? I can almost promise every one of you, if you have a limiting belief and you take action to overcome it, you will, and it will go away. Most of the time, we are the only obstacle to that. We talk ourselves out of things. So I'm going to challenge every one of you this week to pay attention to any negative thought that comes in your head about moving your business forward, about lead generation, about anything that's holding you back in your business. I'm going to challenge you, as soon as you catch that thought, stop and think about, if this truly is holding me back, what do I need to learn? What question do I need to ask? What tool do I need? Who do I need to reach out to so I can turn this around? Okay? Because chances are, most likely, you're just missing a key piece of information that will turn that completely around. Okay. Lisa, is there a direct link to
Whatever you guys were just discussing in regards to looking that person up. I kind of came in, and I didn't get it to come on here in the very beginning, so I just missed that part.
were you talking about like the link to help the victims of the LA?
No, is that guy you're
I
talking
think the
about?
podcast.
The book.
Oh, okay. Well, give me
Sorry.
It's on Spotify.
That's okay. Give me a second and let me look on my podcast history here, and I'll give you the exact name of it. Okay, MREA.
Oh, millionaire real estate.
Yeah, millionaire real
Okay.
estate agent, and oh gosh, was
And
it?
it
Oh,
looks
that's
like this. It looks like the book. It's red, the whole
Yeah,
image
I
of it.
found it.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
yeah.
Thanks.
So it is episode 62, Will Van Wickler.
Okay.
And the title of it is How to Hit a Million Your First Year as an Introvert.
Ah, nice.
Anybody have that issue? So not only is he very, very young, but he's an introvert on top of it. So great one to listen to. I'm sure that you will really enjoy that. So please go listen to that. Also, while we're on the topic of that, no, it's not that one. Is it one there's one I'm listening to right now about farming that gives us a sort of a new way to look at it. So I'm actually going to be looking into bringing a whole workshop on that particular podcast. And I don't think I'll have the information in printed form until Thursday. Did you guys know that every Monday there is a new MREA podcast? And then every Thursday, if you sign up for the notes, they'll give you a one pager on the play for what they talked about. They'll email it to you. So please listen to those, because they're not all, when you listen to them, you're going to hear all kinds of great, great information. Remember, you can't do it all. So only proceed with something that really resonates with you. But it's really great to listen to, because even if it's not something you totally put into practice, you're going to get some good tidbits that are going to help you. They're going to help you in your business, your mindset, or maybe something you can tweak in something you're already doing. I'm not saying go listen to it every week and do what they're saying to do every week, because then you'd have like 48 things by the end of the year that you can't focus on, right? So remember, what you focus on expands, and most people can only truly focus on no more than 3 forms of lead generation. Sometimes there's a fourth in there. It's been proven that most successful agents have no more than 3 to 4 main lead gen sources. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to get business from other places, but you can't focus at a high level on more than that in order to really have results, right? And we all know our number one focus should be what?
SOI.
SOI. We must focus on our SOI. And please know that everyone you talk to isn't going to have a real estate need. but they may know someone who does. And the reason we reach out so often is because maybe they didn't know anybody when you called them today. But 3 months from now, when you call them, because you reminded them last 3 months ago, they may know someone, right? Couple of you have probably heard me tell this story. Oh, thank you for those links, guys. Couple of you have probably heard me tell this story, but many of you have not, so I'm going to tell it anyway. Okay. Here's the importance of SOI. So some of you have the same broker as I do, Troy Geyer. Some of you know him. Okay. He has taken Bold every year that it's been offered. So, but I think this was like in his 6th year. Anybody that knows Troy knows he's not shy. He has no problem talking to anybody, right? He's very outgoing. Well, he was in Bold one day, and in Bold, they make you reach out to people. Well, he wasn't quite feeling it yet, so he calls his wife. And he asked his wife, he said, "Hey, honey, we're in Bold, and we got to make these calls. And so I'm just trying to get ramped up here. So I just thought I'd call and say hi to you and practice my script on you and how you're doing." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. I totally forgot to tell you that so-and-so, a coworker of hers, said they needed to sell their house and you need to call them." This was his own wife, who he lives with and sees every day. True story, by the way. True story. So the point is, you need to reach out and talk to the people that you know, and you need to ask the question, because life happens and people forget. People will forget you're in real estate. Your own mother will forget you're in real estate. I promise you. If you're not talking about it. It's happened to so many people. And I can't think of a better example of somebody close to you than your own spouse who you see every day, right? So talk to the people you know. Be top of mind. Make those care calls now. Because I'll tell you what, 3 to 4 months from now, when insurance companies start paying out, when things start to be being rebuilt, your people will remember that. Your people will call you, and your people will want you to help them buy a home. But if you just hold back and think, "Oh man, I can't call them. They're going through so much right now. I can't. Oh my gosh. They're just going to think I want them to, they're going to think I'm an ambulance chaser." You're going to lose business 3 to 4 months from now if you think that now. Because the truth is, sadly, many of these people will need to buy a home. They're going to use someone. So be the hero. Reach out and check on your people. And those of you that don't live in those areas, because I know there's a couple on here that live in my area or don't live near the fires, still ask your people. "Oh, isn't this horrible what's been happening? Do you have anyone that's been affected by that? I have some resources you can send them." Right? Then a few weeks from now, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, check on those people again. People that said they had somebody affected, make a task in your command. Give yourself a reminder somewhere to reach out to those people again and ask them how they're doing. Have they been able to get help? How are they doing? Then you can start to slowly, in a caring way, find out if they're going to need to buy a home. Those of you that don't live in the area, ask them, "If the time comes where they need to purchase a home, will you please call me? Because I know people who live in that area that will take care of them and not take advantage of them." And we are all connected. There's about 10 market centers on this call that are connected. There's 8 market centers through our coaching program that are connected. So please, please make a plan today to go through your entire SOI. Reach out to them. Call 100 people this week. Call 20 people every day. Or if it can't be 20 a day because some of you have jobs, make a plan to call 100 people this week somehow, some way, and check on them and see if they know of anyone. Then make a plan 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, depending on each call's outcome, to check on them again. Because I can guarantee you there are a lot of people out there that will try to take advantage of this situation in a bad way rather than try to help and be the ones who can help them through a very difficult situation. Will everybody promise to make care calls this week? Awesome. I see all the heads shaking. Awesome. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, comments before we end our workshop? All right. Well, everybody go out there, have a great week. Check in on your people. Remember, 100 phone calls checking on people this week, okay?